Chapter 2. Hudson finds Manna-Hatin. In a way, Captain Hudson deserved some punishment. His very presence in New York Harbor was contrary to all orders from his employers, the Dutch East India Company of Amsterdam. This great commercial organization had long desired a passage to India for its own trade, and when the States General of Holland offered a purse of 25,000 florins for a discovery of such a route, the East India Company officials sent for the English navigator, who had already made something of a reputation for himself as an explorer, and placed the halve main in his charge. "You must sail to the east," they told him, "and seek a northerly passage by way of Nova Zembla. If you don't find it there, you must come home." Yet here he was, unmistakably west of the Zuider Sea. The fact is that when it became cold in the region of Nova Zembla, and his Dutch crew grumbled, he straightway turned about and headed for the coast of America. Nor were his explorations at about 40 degrees latitude all a matter of chance, for his very good friend, Captain John Smith, the same adventurer whose life was saved by Pocahontas, had quite recently written him a letter suggesting that the Sea of Verrazano might be the very real passage to India for which he sought. Accordingly, just 85 years after the Italian pirate navigator had come that way, the Half Moon trimmed its square sails and felt its way cautiously into the lower harbor. But on this voyage, the exploring vessel was manned by sailors alert to every possibility of commerce. The time was ripe for New York's discovery. The 3 weeks that were spent by the captain and crew of the Half Moon in trading with the natives and convincing themselves by soundings that they had failed to find a through passage to China were not without excitement. John Coleman, one of the English sailors, was killed by an arrow while he and a few others were rowing about the lower bay in a small boat, and to him went the distinction of occupying the first white man's grave on Sandy Hook. Then Hudson, in his turn, seized 2 hostages from among the natives who paddled their canoes inquisitively about his ship while it rode at anchor, and on the return trip down the river he was reminded unpleasantly of this act. As the little vessel came abreast of the rocky wooded island of Manna-Hatin, so called by the Indians for Place of the Whirlpool, or Island of the Mountains, authorities are not agreed, out from the tiny strait known as the Spuyten Duyvil, or Spouting Fountain, there came war canoes filled with Indians, who shouted defiance and showered their arrows upon the intruder. They were easily beaten off, but the seeds of a long feud had already been scattered upon the winds. In no very happy frame of mind, the adventurous captain turned his slow-moving, chunky little craft toward Europe. He carried nothing with him to show for his waste of time and money except a few pelts and a well-written log of the journey. Nor did his disgruntled employers, the East India Company, ever see him again, for he was detained in Dartmouth Harbor by the English officials, who were not too well pleased, for their part, that he should serve under a foreign flag. The unfortunate Captain Hudson's next journey of exploration proved his last. Seeking to redeem his name by finding a passage to the northwest, he passed through Hudson Strait and into the vast stretches of Hudson Bay. But here the wretched crew mutinied, threw him and his son into an open boat, and left them to perish in those icy solitudes of the far north. It is one of the strange tricks of time that his gallant name still lives, associated with the places of his failure and tragic death.